Shit, she used so much magic in that one attack that the rest of her body other than her heart, brain, and mouth signals stopped even being remotely able to be repaired at all. Then, Tano, with a face of no, horror can't describe it anymore. It's like a teenager seeing all of his best friends die or be crippled forever in the matter of an hour. There's no describing the grief, the anguish, all of it, in that one moment for Ano. Julie, you never told me you planned to give up your entire livelihood, your dreams, just to make sure that other people are okay. Having to do all of that. Well, I guess it's just how the cookie crumbles. For me anyway. Julie says. Don't worry, though, there's still some time. Since my damage is all internal, you could give me a new set of lungs, put me in a hospital, come see me for a bit. I saved just enough magic for myself not to die. The group immediately decides to let Hein carry Julie, as they arrive at their destination. To Ano, this place is very familiar, but to everyone else, it was an utter mystery. Why did she hide the magic book here? When they enter the house, it seems very nice. Tidy even. The house was obviously well taken care of. Well, Miss Ichino, you have a really nice place here. Solomon comments, trying to at least cheer up the mortified Ano. Did your parents go out of town for something? Yeah. Wouldn't want to hide something here, if it meant my family got hurt by something that's not their fault. Ano softly says, still trying to hold on to any bit of happiness and hope she still has. Hein puts down Julie and starts trying to make her lungs, unable to function by themselves, work by using a machine that Capo had in her bag. Through the cut in her abdomen, Hein is able to install it to pump together with the heart. Then, she disinfects the wound and puts a much cleaner bandage from the pit inside of Ano's kitchen cupboard, using the assistance of Ano's directions. While this is happening, Solomon, with Ano's help, pries open one of the wall tiles from the bathroom to reveal a box. You know, had I been looking for this, I'd never guessed it'd be in the same room as good Searles go to defecate. Ano doesn't say anything, as Solomon brings the box to the living room, and calls everyone who can still walk over there, and bring the rest of them. As they sit down on the sofa and prepare to open this box, all of a sudden, the entire box becomes corrosive and begins to bubble, but still retaining its shape and structure. You think the book is trying to stop us from knowing about its existence? Capo says, as the book somehow eats through the table it is placed upon and lands onto the hardwood floor. Surprisingly, it stops bubbling. Well, it would be far more aggressive than this, if it wanted to defend itself. Solomon says to her. They finally get the box open, and it reveals the same magic book that Julie and Ano remember. Although Julie has to ask Hein to turn her head in order to see it. Upon further investigation by looking through the pages, Solomon determines that this book has no malicious property at all. But before they can start making theories, the floor suddenly bubbles, just as much as the box did earlier, eating through the sofa and everything on the hardwood floor that's not a wall. Actually, now that Ano sees it, the walls have been bubbling as well. Solomon, acting quickly, gets out of there with Julie and Ano in hand. However, that can't easily be said for Hein and Capo, who are now stuck. Wait, I have an idea. Capo says, and she jumps towards a window with her carrying bag, puts it against the window, and fuses both it and the window together. All of a sudden, the eroding stops, and the two sneak their way out of the house, carrying the book with them, since Solomon left it behind. It seemed as if a demon was luring them outside. But for what exactly? No one really knew. Until 3 daggers landed on the ground, clearly aimed towards Solomon. Then a few more daggers came flying, as Solomon continues trying to dodge, until he's forced to drop Julie, so that he can reach his sword. Whoever is assaulting them was waiting for this moment, and threw more daggers directly at Julie. However, Hein simply kicked them out of the way, and more daggers kept flying at Solomon to keep him distracted. Then a kitchen knife went straight through Hein's heel, as she was moving to defend Julie, keeping her still, and in even more pain. With all this chaos however, no one, except Ano even wondered what their real objective was, as Capo darted off to take Julie somewhere safe, away from the battle. That was exactly what this thing was counting on. A cloaked figure disarmed Capo of Julie, breaking Capo's arm, as Julie made a faint smile. She went out with a bang, and that's really all Julie wanted. When she made that final attack of hers, she knew her life would never resume. Be the way it was. Because it was never going to fold back into the comfortable mold she always wanted. But she wanted to say one last thing to Ano. Too bad she couldn't turn herself around and motion the words to her. Maybe, if she were to spin in just the right way, she could. But it wasn't going to turn out that way. So, instead of doing it sliently, she shouts loud, saying her final words, as she is thrown into the air, and about to be kicked, to her death. Ano-chan, shine that sweet pretty flame of yours for others to see. Ano immediately looks towards Julie, as she says this, watching Julie say her final words to her one best friend she had left. But then, she meets the assailant, as she remains in the air. A red demon who looked very skinny. 2 long goat horns on the back of his head, stitched on there by something. And from his facial expressions, he was enjoying winding up that kick of his. His strong kick, that'll, for sure make him feel good about himself. that he killed a human. She decided that her last thing to do was to rob him of this satisfaction. She bites his foot as she lands, grinding it up in an attempt to humiliate and turning him. And then, she releases her tooth grip as he tries to use his magic to get rid of her teeth. Of course, this was to buy time. Enough time to say, for someone born of a race known to eventually try to conquer the world, you look the most like a shit pickle, you know that? The demon gets very pissed off at her insulting his heritage and whines up an even harder kick, straight to her cheek. And you look very happy for someone who's about to become enlightened with my foot. Well, you can go fuck yourself. Those were her last words, as the kick starts to move forward. Julie. Thano screams at her, as Julie is forced to stare off into the Sunday. Both I.T.D.O. Cephalus tried to stop that demon, but they are simply too far away to make a difference. The screaming turns into a horrifying, traumatic, incomprehensible cry scream, as Julie gets kicked by the demon. This sends her flying, far away as a human missile. Although this kick was utterly random in trajectory, she crashed into many houses before finally completely toppling the Rising Sun University, making it crumble. She was probably long dead by the second house, but what was left of her was obliterated instantly when she reached her final destination, her guts, eyes, and organs all flying out. Julie is shattered. Her burial site being the very school she went to. The sun finally fell down on someone. As the demon notices the attachment between Mono and Julie, he runs incredibly fast to grab whatever happened to be in that direction. Who knows at that point? Thano can't help but to plant her face in the dirt to even attempt to control her extremely loud, heartbroken, hopeless, angry sobs. She just can't. And no one wants to stop her from doing so. But someone revels in their accomplishment. The demon, who dodged both of the hits and killed Julie, had this to say. Oh, that pathetic excuse, for a human was enough to make you break. They, insufferable, needy humans, am I right? His voice calls out from the distance. Capo immediately tells him that he's no better than a cockroach for doing such a horrible thing to someone who couldn't defend themselves. What? You only want us to kill certain humans? That doesn't sound fair at all. Just because one is crippled and the other is perfectly fine doesn't mean jack shit in the grand scheme of things. B.I.T.D.O. Notice that, as the demon is walking back, with his troops behind him, holding Julie's soul in his hand. Wait, you can't be serious. You can't just take someone's soul like that. Capo yells at him, but Solomon quiets her down, as he steps in. Let that one go. If you have any honor, or dignity, let them go. The demon grabs Julie's soul even harder, and makes the soul visible to Ano, who wasn't able to see it before, as she pulled her face up. Then, he crushes it. That's right. I'm not letting that bitch get to heaven. Do you even know how many of us she killed, how many you killed? We do all of this for a reason. Shut up, shut up, shut up. All Ano quietly said, as she closed her sobbing eyes, and after seeing that, all she thought about is how he wanted to make the entire demon race suffer for what they did to Julie, for Kyoto, everything. But she couldn't put it into reasonable words. Of course, no one could. Oh, the breath's beginning to speak. Well, let me tell you a bit of a history lesson. He sits down right in front of the sobbing Ano. As Solomon tries to do something about it, the demon robes his sword and makes a circle of acid around them. Our warlords love, well, what do you call them? Magic books? I got no idea why, but they do. They hang the ones they make on top of the wall of the village tent like it's their prized possession. So, naturally, we want nothing to happen to the book. Also, remember that relatively fat demon you just decided to throw a fireball at? Punch repeatedly, until he bloated and got so desperate that he attacked that bitch. He was my brother. You murdered him, and the part of the tribe we sent. For what? Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. So you know what I did? I did a bit of digging on you, and then I figured out exactly where this book was. Then, after you all wanted to end that pathetic excuse of a fight, I sent them down there to kill your friend. Just to make you suffer, as I did. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. So, you wanted to be a pretty flame and save people? Well, tough fucking luck, kid, you can't save anyone. Then he smiles a little, and to be honest, those friends of yours weren't even worth saving anyway. Just miserable pieces of shit we use for making magic books. Shut your fucking mouth. Ano finally opens her eyes and outright snaps at him, not caring anymore that she's too injured to even walk, unable to even think. Whatever it took, she'd kill this garbage dumpster and everyone he ordered to come through. As she dashes, the demon ends up thinking that her little anger spurt won't mean anything with those broken arms of hers, but she kicks him in the arm hard enough to make him consider coating it in acid, and she immediately flips back to a standing position with some kind of booster flames to avoid it, lighting the magic book in intense flames. Capo, who was holding the book at the time, did not expect this at all and had to let go of it to avoid being burned alive. Well, this got interesting. Men, we have a major battle on our hands. Go. Make your pride known, as he walks away into the army, mildly amused, and wanting to sit down and think about what Julie said to him. One by one, all tried to keep Broken Otto down, but she goes right through their nails, talons, spikes, everything, and just regenerate all of it using her magic instinctively. Every demon she touched, she made sure to split in half with just her legs alone, making them bleed to death. One of them tried using mind magic to stop her, but as she got stuck, she repeatedly headbutted them until their head flew off from their body. Everyone who tried to range her, she simply feet blasted them and burned them alive. Everyone who tried to grapple up her, she ripped out their intestines with her feet and made them choke on it. Anyone who tried hitting her while was doing anything to anyone else, fire mind to death. When she finally killed all 200 of the remaining forces and saw the demon right there, he had been sitting, concerned about the losses in his troops, but still eager to be fighting this magic novice one-on-one, armless or not. So, you got through all 1,200 of my men. One loss on your end. Even if I retreat now, I'll be hailed as a hero back at my village in hell. Shut the fuck up and let's start your damn slaughter already. Oh. Beastie aren't we? Well then, let's get the show on the river. He dodges a few of her enraged attacks, having clearly seen through them, and times his own counterattacks. However, she proves too fast for him, and he gets kicked in the chest and face. Still not willing to give up, he corrodes her legs in an attempt to make her surrender, but she just regenerates them back, as she slams her heel against the back of his skull. He takes full advantage of this, however, and shoots acid through his mouth, which almost lands directly through her heart, only missing through Otto's instinct to turn right at the last second. To Solomon and Cato, who are forced to watch, it's like he has had experience fighting fire users before. He quickly fixes his neck with an acid solution magic, and, as she is regenerating from the acid, goes in for the kill by making his dagger acidic and making a whole pool of acid come from above, but to his shock, she slides behind him, boosts towards him, and chokeholds him using her left leg, while using her right to impale him through the chest and hold him in a position that he cannot escape from. In between her knee and her leg joint. It even seems like he's confident during all of this, a situation that he's supposed to be losing. He, for sure, has a trick up his sleeve. Something that he, for sure, is going to use as a last resort. Tell me your name, you immense fuck nugget. Oh, asking for one last little name drop before your death? Remorine. My name's Remorine. Nice war piece of my demon horde. And it will be the last name your amateur ass is going to hear. All of a sudden, his wound starts leaking an extremely acidic mixture that seems to defy all known laws of physics, and evaporates her entire leg, her foot simply falling off due to being cut off from the rest of the body. The flames come to attempt to regenerate all the acid damage, but apparently even they can't stop the acid from eventually taking her entire leg and going straight into her blood flow. All of a sudden, Otto stops moving. Remorine rejoices in his supposed victory, while the I.T.T.O. members watch in utter despair. For a brat like you to die so fast to my final attack, I guess you were tough after all. He begins laughing, taking in every moment, until he remembers that very thing Julie said. He seems too defeated to really care. Well, he was going to get promoted. But it's not like he won't be shamed for almost dying to two amateurs. However, just as he's about to heal himself using his magic, he notices something. He can't turn around. What the hell could possibly make him, the great Remorine, not be able to turn around? He then looks down. What seems to be muscle tissue from a human is still in him. But how the hell is that even possible? He killed the kid. There's no way they could have survived that. His disappointment turns into utter horror, just before a hand goes through his neck, pulls on the back of it, and straight towards the supposed corpse of Otto. It had to be a knee-jerk, post-death instinct to do all that, right? There's no way. No way. And there's possible scenario where her arms would be able to work. Excuse me? Did I ask to see your shitty final attack? Did I even want to see you being so goddamn proud of yourself for being a vile piece of shit? All of a sudden, Otto begins to move again. But she's not herself. Her iris doesn't exist anymore. Just a sea of orange, where the black should be. Remorine sees now what the hell just happened. He never thought this would ever happen to him based on his expression. Being able to regenerate from wounds even orange fire can't fix. Oh, you want mercy now? I can smell it in your breath. It's a little, well, so less of you to beg for mercy after insulting a dead loved one. But fine, if you want mercy. He smiles a little, as he believes she intends to spare him, for a brief moment, but this smile quickly turns to a deathly horror, as he sees a massive black flame claw coming from her back. I'll let mercy play with you a little. He's played with, as a human-sized playbow for this black flame hand. It stretches him into many different shapes, and, once it finds no use in playing with him anymore, it ishpadags him. Only Solomon, out of the whole group, has even heard stories of this. Sometimes the user's magical will manifests to the point that they refuse to die and defy all odds. He, of course, tells this story to the whole group. However, what the hell is inhabitating Otto notices the breathing. It smiles, and prepares to charge them as well. However, fortunately for them, Thano's body got into a state where it went into a total body coma, and it fell down to the ground.